You do not need to verify anything. Your quest for verification has left you insensible. Cognition requires analysis only at a certain basic levels. Everything that is presented to you is energy in some state or range. You have to learn to be in front of every energy that is acting. If a question concerns you, it is that the energy has something to do with you and you with it. That connection is nourished and sustained just by attuning. The consciousness and the cosmos, a path to one's own inner cosmos, in assistance of a more profound understanding of the current planetary transition. A stimuli that accompany the pilgrim in his return to his cosmic home. The Consciousness and the Cosmos, podcast of Oxim Planetary Service Center. Welcome back, dear listeners. My name is Arwinak, and together with Thomas, we will be hosting the program. In today's topic, we have decided to share some information of one of Daniel Gagliardo's books, named The Path of the Pilgrim, Erx, and the Revolution of Ansenusa. From the chapter, The Right Attitude. Of course, what we are referring here when we're saying the right attitude is the attitude of our outer consciousness, of our personality, to seek the right attitude, which includes openness towards the inner source of our higher consciousness, openness to our inner cosmos, the cosmos within us, our inner instructor, our higher being.
In particular, a contradiction with respect to the assumption of life with simplicity is evident today. The state of the planet and its counterpart in the context of humanity are receiving a high degree of stimulation. They are different from all that the ancient manifestations supported and sustained. Their state confirms to those who open themselves to other aspects of reality a gradation that the planetary substance is beginning to rehearse, a characteristic that excludes the old pattern, while at the same time awakening the vibratory cadence capable of stimulating seeds. The aforementioned contradiction must be observed in that all of this powerful and unprecedented process goes unnoticed by the majority, being identified only by a minority of special characteristics.
When we are shown the conditions for this type of written work, specific nuances are usually included. In the case of the present contribution, it was perceived that the target consciousnesses or the target individuals and human beings should become to ask themselves specific questions about the reality described here, to seek in their own aspects and inner identity the guide to deepen these energies. Only this way can a valuable mechanism be activated. Only in this way could the development of the right consciousness gradually become effective, forming an attitude of genuine openness.
A being should recognize a powerful symbolic energy in this search to discover what he doesn't know. Life invites him to an encounter. It offers him to participate in a different way. When we experience this thirst for the unknown, when a non-disturbing restlessness becomes present and removes us from our conventional and inert position, it is because this thirst has already begun to be experienced in an anonymous and silent way, and to some extent satisfied.
In order to understand what is already happening in us, we should guard against and prevent the interfering intervention of our analytical mind. It will not allow us to understand that we are already permeated by that which only now we perceive we must embrace. That this thirst for search is only the way in which that is already happening in us, on other levels of our own consciousness, gives us signs of itself. Every time this thirst is experienced, the possibilities of advancing with our psychic mechanism in approaching this energy will be renewed. What is proposed to us with each necessary flowering of that particular thirst will always be different.
Like any context or field, this thirst must be quenched by taking into account the rules that would not disable it in its function. Only an attitude of analytical, speculative, and rational renunciation will allow us, without knowing the rules of the game that is apparently unknown to us, to advance in its manifestation and execution.
Uroma consciousness strengthens our capacity to respond to the light through its irradiation. Its impulses favor the alignment of the being's vehicles, which is the bodies of our personality, with the internal flame that nourishes them. Uroma current work is a continuation of a deep cycle of work. 2000 years ago, in collaboration with Christ hierarchy, it was part of the preparation of the subtle energy patterns that would support the current phase of transition. You do not need to verify anything. Your quest for verification has left you insensible. You must learn to work with direct instruction and teaching. Cognition requires analysis only at a certain basic levels, stages that can no longer serve the purpose of the energy. Such stages are exhausted and can only be found in the essence of a cycle that have already passed. Everything that is presented to you is energy in some state or range. So, you have to learn to be in front of every energy that is acting. If a question concerns you, it is that the energy has something to do with you and you with it. That connection is nourished and sustained just by attuning. It will be useless to force interpretations on issues that have their basis above the rigid particle represented by your concrete mind.
As a planetary culture, we know nothing of the spiritual law beyond our ability to theorize about it. The experience of this energy is practically unknown to us. The clear limit presented by the theoretical definition is kept alive by an activity center in our left conscience. Its predominance has kept us away from a profound experience of the inner law. The most convincing proof of this is the irrepressible fever of the inner light from which more and more people are suffering. No one seeks what is abundant and in how ends.
The importance of your attitude is immense. There are no ways to approach parameters and archetypes unless you give the right energy to the position called attitude. The installation of this is already a sign of that action of those parameters and their influences in some degree. Your attitude even requires spontaneity, a pattern that you have lost through indiscriminated experiences of speculation. If you would limit yourself to accepting and being flexible before the impulses of your soul, you would recover the irreplaceable spontaneous pattern, so valuable for your inner consciousness and the circulatory action of the light. The energy of sincerity is yet unknown to you, confusing it with an unrestrained discharge to which your personality is accustomed. It is, objectively, the pouring out of your inner energy through thoughts, actions, feelings, without committing to all that you have not yet purified.
The interior life guides us uninterruptedly. We just have to understand the position to assume. Having fed attitudes of slow vibration, silence our mechanism of response and permeability, to such an extent that when we are placed in front of a request related to our attitude, we can suffer from absolute incomprehension of what is practicing to point out to us, as if having to understand that there are other variables of action was something crazy or unthinkable. We relate these changes within a context to offer them, in short, the same impermeable parameters, simply by not adequately covering the essential parameter attitude relationship.
Gratitude for the simple awareness of a need of such magnitude, perhaps the greatest after our internal and evolutionary aspiration of our need to assist the plan. Gratitude for approaching the perception of that true need that embraces us and that must be resolved in us, because it will be useless to perceive it without seeking to resolve in ourselves what drives it. Gratitude is, in that case, the first step towards the assistance of what involves everyone, the energy released consuming its return.
The energy that accompanies our growth at this time and is revealed nourishes our consciousness with powerful and direct impulses. A sense of gratitude pervades the environment and our activities. At times, with such a presence and power, its vibration is perceived as a purifying. It removes and alleviates, harmonizing us with the order that nourishes it. The discovery of a flow of gratitude of certain dimensions is for the being a practical experience of that transformation that resolutely longs to concretize. Even if we are unable to point out any progress at all, which is not necessary, gratitude would emerge for the simple fact of finally recognizing that we must change our condition.
If you open yourself to understand the multiplicity of states and dimensions that participate and nourish you, you will be able to sing songs of freedom that are still drowned in your heart and throats. The birds attend the existence with spontaneity and vivacity. renewing the paths along which the light will manifest itself. You are invited to participate in that same renewal. Have no fear. Spread your wings, without attachment, throughout the universe, which you will leave behind. It is no longer with candlelight that you hold your aspiration to the solar essence. Every offering of the unique conceals the beauty of the greatest of promises.
Countless beings are torn apart, and even so, they prefer to confirm themselves as the repositories of a common pattern with incapacitating quality. Deep work is what awaits us to avoid tuning into the radiation of that pattern. Just as it happens with radio when it is on, in order not to tune into a certain frequency, we must orient ourselves precisely towards some other frequency. This tuning is the absolute basis of everything that can happen to us. If we are satisfied with the theoretical approach to this internal reality, taking for granted that limiting ourselves and settling for this type of relationship with the law can be effective, we will have to go through a strong disillusionment, gradually attracting and removing traumas.